What's going on, gamers? We got some sales data coming in today from Matt Piscatella, as usual, for the US. And then we have some Japan sales to combine in so that we can get the total picture. Europe is coming in later. But right now for US, from Matt Piscatella, and then we're going to take a look at the numbers too. Circana says PlayStation 5 had a negative 17% drop, which is not that bad considering they're going to be going into their 6th year eventually, for being number one in the US, and Switch 2 being number two, and Xbox being number three, negative 27%, because they keep on dropping those. Just like, how could you keep dropping much more? It's ridiculous. And then Switch being negative 79, which makes sense. Black Ops being number one, being carried by PlayStation, because Call of Duty has not came to Nintendo yet, and it's going to be coming, so that's obviously going to help them sell more. And then NBA and NFL, usual stuff that you would see, the factory games every year. And then you were wondering, how close was it between PlayStation and Switch? It was pretty close, obviously. Nintendo's definitely going to need some heavy hitters, but worldwide, I'm pretty sure they're still winning. So going over to VG charts, if we take a look over here, it's 201.7K. That's what Matt Piscatella asked. That's what he gives them, and 210.8K, or maybe there's more which shipped. So they're pretty much neck and neck in January. Sony did some deals still, obviously. You still could get like $3.99 and all that. But in Japan, Nintendo is absolutely destroying and blowing out. They had a golden week. It's 315,000 consoles. So worldwide, it's like, it's not like they had some slowdown, except maybe in the US, yeah, of course, we could see that. But they're about to get some heavy hitters. They just announced Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green launching literally in a week. And then you got Pokemon Presents launching the same day in the week. They're going to get out Pokemon Gen 10. So they're going to get moving again a lot. They're also getting Resident Evil Requiem. They're getting the games, from third-party publishers as well. They just do not need to drop the price. That would be the big, drop the price. Yeah, that would be cool. They do not need to raise the price of the hardware. I think they'll raise online, and they'll keep that momentum going. And then they got Duskblood from Miyazaki's team, from Software. That's coming. You got the next mainline Mario, and you got Pokemon Gen 10. You got Fire Emblem. They have a lot of titles coming, and a lot more that are going to be announced. All the Call of Duties are going to be coming there as well. All those Xbox games. Sony might be dropping some too. They have a lot of games, so they're going to be fine. We know PlayStation is going to be fine. It's more about what is Xbox going to do. I think from a hardware standpoint, we know the console's pretty much, kind of like in the grave. 80K, I guess I could say that's not too bad for January, compared to what we were seeing before coming out of the holidays. I mean, but in Japan, they have no chance. In Europe, I don't think it's doing well. So overall, man, it might be like barely 100K for the month. For Nintendo Switch 2, just between Japan and here, is 520,000 almost. PlayStation, 250K about. So Nintendo is putting up monster sales in Japan. You see? So if you want to take a look at the whole spectrum worldwide, they're winning still. They won in December. Worldwide, Sony had a really good deal in November for Black Friday, and even continued into December, and Nintendo still got that. So, and they were holding their record. So it's not like, you see these people try to paint these negative narratives when it's like, dude, if you go over to Twitter, they got a Pokemon Presents, and they just announced that game right there, 9.3 million. It's like, dude, they're doing fine. Like, you ain't got nothing to worry about when it comes to them. You don't really need to worry about Sony either, because they do deals and they're smart. They're not going to be dumb. The problem here is Microsoft Slack being picked up by the Switch 2. So there isn't offsets and declines. We're going to talk about that. But I mean, once we get the European numbers and the rest of the world, we're going to see what's going on here. But as you could see, dude, Japan, 315,000. That's insane. And this is what I mean by like them having the balance and equilibrium across the industry, where you will be able to have a balance in all regions across the world, in America, Western society, Europe, and Asia, and having an equilibrium. Sony doesn't have that because they've abandoned Japan and they have to work to get something going in there. But even then, you're not going to take that from them. So the stuff they'll try to do in Europe, Nintendo's doing over here. But look how much smaller Japan is than those other regions, and they're managing to get and keep gaming alive there, which is good for everybody, because if you put your games there like Microsoft and Sony, you will be able to tap into that market and get some sales. It makes the gaming industry more healthy. So overall, they're winning right now. You see what I mean? It's like PlayStation is winning too in ways. You know what I mean? It's like they're both winning. I've said this before. And there's like a little narrow margin here. They had some sales, once again, just like they had to do in December, November. But is that a bad thing? No. Obviously, they had this negative blueprint drama going on, so a lot of people are not happy about that. But other than that, they're doing pretty good, and Nintendo is doing pretty well as well, and they got some heavy hitters coming. So expect that to go on. Going over to, we'll get back to that in a second, to Circana though, if we read down some things, it says that growth in subscription and hardware drive increased by 3%. Wait, hardware increased by 3%, but Sony had a negative 17% drop and Xbox negative 27 because of the Switch 2. So that just tells you that that was needed because there was no Switch 2 last year. There was a Switch 1, PlayStation, and Xbox. And Sony coming in with a rough year last year off of some cancels and the PSSR, as we remember that. And then you got the best-selling premium games, Call of Duty once again being their number one, but it's the typical stuff: COD, NBA 2K, Madden. Usually think about FIFA, Battlefield, EA, GTA, Minecraft, Red Dead. I mean, you kind of get tired of seeing this. What was nice seeing coming up here was the 7 remake, thanks to the Switch 2, leading probably about 80-some% to Xbox is probably about 15 or 10. And then Forza still being up there, selling well on PlayStation, doing well still. So Microsoft definitely monopolizing for this helps out with this, but this is still the weakest sales in the series, but PlayStation is carrying this. So they need PlayStation to do very well. And to keep that publishing strong, they need to hurry up and get those Call of Duty games on Nintendo, which, according to what I've been reading, it should be happening soon. Code Vein topped the charts up there. That's cool. Ghost Yote is still hanging up there. Kingdom Come is still selling well. That's cool. Helldivers 2 still up there. Pokemon Legends ZA, but there's no digital, so that could probably be a lot higher. But Nintendo doesn't give digital because they're a funny company. Seeing Elden Ring get up here is absolutely hilarious. This is where Microsoft can do well as a publisher, getting up there. And now reading down here what Matt said, he says hardware spending increased by 16% compared to a year ago, reaching $248 million. The Switch 2 spending was able to offset year-on-year declines. That's what I was trying to tell people. Seen across PS5, Xbox Series, and Switch. So they did pretty much close to what Sony's doing, and because Microsoft does not move those numbers, not even last year, we know that Nintendo being there with PlayStation obviously makes it grow by 16%. So console gaming is in a healthier state overall, even with the decline of Xbox. But them doing 79K or almost 80 in US is not too bad, I guess, from the position that they're in. Then you got hardware. Despite sales falling compared to a year ago, PlayStation 5 led the hardware in both unit and dollar sales during January. Switch 2 ranked second across both measures. Content, January gaming spent grew. See, once again, it grew spending because of the Switch 2 being added in. When compared to a year ago, to $4.3 billion, a 23% increase in subscription spending combined with slight gains across console, because consoles helped with that 2%, PC 1%, and then there was a negative 1% drop in mobile. Okay, that's fine. And then Black Ops 7 was the best-selling game of the month. Obviously, we know that. Code Vein was the only new release to appear in the January chart. Okay, Final Fantasy 7 Remake jumped to number 9 from 225th in December due to the release of Switch 2 and Series. But if you want to get pretty accurate on this, we're going to take a look at the charts and see who performed well, right? And I think that's pretty obvious. So going down to premium games, we kind of get the idea here. This is pretty much third party, besides Ghost of Yote, Forza, Minecraft, and COD, which pretty much is third party, but Microsoft puts their stamps on it. Now, if we go to Xbox, Final Fantasy was number 7 on Xbox. Now, if you think about the Xbox store, though, it doesn't sell like that. So it getting in the top 10 is still good, though. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a mainstream JRPG, so that's cool. But, you wonder, what does that actually mean in sales? You go on a Nintendo platform, being number 2 under Pokemon Legends ZA, though there was no digital given, really says a lot. Because that means that game sold very well in the Switch 2. And it was number 1 at one point. I've seen it a lot. So that obviously carried most of the weight. It would be nice if they gave digital, but they didn't. So it gives you the idea there was probably like maybe 80-20 at best percent of Xbox to get 20% of the sales, or 85, 15% when it comes to that ratio. And in PC, Code Vein 2 dominated, which is cool. So it's nice seeing that. And accessories dipped by 5% compared to a year ago. I mean, you can see Xbox controllers not selling as much. Probably the tank down in PlayStation controllers, and the Switch 2 accessories like the Pro controller, which led the year, helped out. You got down here guys saying, I wonder what the Switch 2 Xbox split is for Final Fantasy 7. I'm guessing 90-10. Oof, sales are on a downslope in terms of hardware purchases. They'll continue to drop the longer the gen continues. That depends if there's price deals or not. But going back over here, yeah, I mean, guys, let's just tell you, like, when you see this being below the Switch 1, that's definitely a problem. That's because it still sells in Japan. That's crazy numbers for Japan. Sony at least managed to get 43K in Japan, but 75K for Switch 1 is nuts. They just love Nintendo in Japan, and they do a good job of making sure to take care of that. But 315K is monster numbers. What the hell? I still look at this and I'm like, damn. And then if you see ending January, you got 72, and going down here, you see these numbers. An Xbox selling 17.2K, having a fall off. If you were at 80K, obviously you had some probably weeks before that, maybe with that direct week or something, where they did okay. But you're not reaching the numbers you should for your competitors and your own territory. And that's where that's a problem. I don't know if this will even get better. I think February may be worse. Hopefully not. You always want to see consoles do better. But I don't know. So we see Sony getting an edge here in US, but worldwide so far from the charts, they're losing. But they're both still winning in their own, degree here. But Sony definitely has some heat on them after the Blue Point shut down. So we kind of get that idea here. Reading some more comments. Remakes keep selling. You love to see it. Yote with the legs. Yep, not bad for Prime 4. Interesting to see Switch 2 not being number 1. Well, that's the thing. They do need some heavy hitters, but like I said, they got that coming this year big time. We don't even need to worry about Nintendo. They're going to be fine. Same thing with Sony. It's a Microsoft you kind of need to worry about. What's going to be going on with that? Because we know the Magnus is not going to even possibly sell 10 million, and it's just going to be like a Steam Deck or a Steam Machine situation. It's more like, what are you going to do now as a strong publisher? Or are you going to be a strong publisher? And make sure all your ports and optimizations are top class and you pump out a lot of games and they have good quality. That's what they need more than anything. So yeah, we're going to get that Xbox is dead narrative probably going. If people see this, they're going to say stuff like that. Final Fantasy 7 doing well on Xbox seemingly. Helldiver's still kicking it too. Well, we don't know that, but it seems to be doing okay. I wonder if Final Fantasy 7 Remake sold above or below expectations with the Switch 2 and Xbox Series releases. The masses of Chud strangely quiet with Yote after the sales numbers. That's pretty funny. PlayStation saving Call of Duty pretty much, and it's going to be coming to Nintendo, so they're going to be helping with that as well. Now the thing is people only seeing this are not aware of, like I said, the sales over here. And it's, like I said, if you go over to we don't need to go there. If you go over to here, it's like they got Pokemon Presents on the 27th. They got this Shadow dropping, and they got a main direct coming in March. We know that it's going to be a powerhouse direct. So a main one, and they're going to pretty much set out the rest of the year. We know they got a lot of games coming from Microsoft as well. They got a lot of third-party support coming. I mean, they're going to be fine. In the holidays, they're going to do monster numbers. It's not really anything to worry about. What we do worry about is, are they going to jack the price up of the hardware? Because I don't think they can really do that. I think you need to build your base as much as possible, because Sony's doing fine. They're not jacking up the price of the hardware. Nintendo needs to not do the same thing and build up their community. That's pretty much what I have to say when it comes to that, because you can't afford to hurt your base like that. Like you already hit the 450 range for where it's at, and I don't think you should go past that. They need to really think about that very carefully. So we see Switch 2 continues to dominate Japan with these sales. Sony and Nintendo are dominating charts outside of that elsewhere. Numbers are looking good. I want you guys to let me know what you think about this. Are you disappointed in what's going on in any of this? What do you want to see as improvements? Personally, like when it comes to me, I think Microsoft needs to not do any games at $80. Same thing for PlayStation. And what I think is going to happen is we're going to see subscription prices go up for the Switch Online, because it's been the same price for like 9 years almost. Sony may do the same thing, but Sony may try an $80 game for like a tentpole title that may be around the corner. You never know. Like Wolverine could be $80. And they know, because it's a Marvel game, they may do that. Nintendo may charge $80 for Pokemon Gen 10 to offset something like that. We may see something like that. I would rather see an $80 game than a subscription go up for certain, because at least, not for Nintendo, that's different. I mean for Sony, because the price could eventually go down. But when it comes to subscriptions, historically, if you think about, even if the RAM crisis and the AI bubble pops, do people usually lower the price of subscriptions after they go up? I haven't seen it. So I think that's a concern that people usually talk about. So let me know what you guys think about this. Once again, like, comment, subscribe. Keep gaming no matter what platform you're on. Peace out.